All right, so the Cold War II electric boogaloo propaganda is ramping up at full capacity now, and it's not just coming from a handful of military-industrial complex corrupted politicians. It's actually coming also from within the highest ranks of the military itself. So I got a report here from the New York Post, which is basically explaining how one of the top generals within the U.S. military is now apparently warning that China could soon spring a surprise nuclear strike on the U.S. Wow, that's a pretty ridiculous claim at face value, and we'll get to why it's ridiculous for many, many reasons. But let's just go ahead and hear him out and hear what he had to say about this. So he says, the second ranking general in the U.S. military has sounded the alarm about China's weapons development, warning that Beijing may soon have the capability to launch a surprise nuclear strike against America. And he says, quote, they looked like a first-use weapon, and what he means is like first nuclear strike capabilities, basically. They looked like a first-use weapon. General John Hyten, the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, told CBS News on Tuesday, that's what those weapons look like to me. And Hyten was discussing China's test of a hypersonic weapon from this summer, which was first reported by the Financial Times last month. And he continues saying, quote, they launched a long-range missile, Hyten said. It went around the world, dropped off a hypersonic glide vehicle that glided all the way back to China that impacted a target in China. I'm absolutely terrified, or I guess I'm supposed to be terrified in this moment. I don't know, that kind of, to me at least, sounds like something the U.S. military would be doing on an average Tuesday. But he continues here, when asked whether the vehicle had hit the intended target, Hyten answered, close enough, okay, whatever that means. Now, interestingly enough, okay, to show you a dichotomy here, and whether or not you want to believe it, that's up to you, but to show you a policy, a difference here between the United States and China, China has pledged since 1964 that it would not be the first party in a conflict to use nuclear weapons, and the South China Morning Post reported in October that Beijing had reiterated its no first-use policy, despite some officials urging a rethink. Now, the United States, on the other hand, has repeatedly refused to adopt a no first-use policy, but has vowed, thankfully, not to use nukes against countries that do not have them. Well, thank you, U.S. military, I guess, okay? I'm thankful, I guess, that we're not going to just go around indiscriminately bombing random smaller countries around the world, but, I think we maybe should be kind of also concerned about getting into a nuclear war with the second most powerful country in the world. It seems like that may have some consequences associated with it. I don't know, something like, catastrophic loss of civilian life, or the complete destabilization of the global economy, or, any number of other things. This is a planetary war that they are talking about here. They're talking about World War III, just casually, just as if, like, well, we're not going to launch a strike against a country that doesn't have them. We might, I don't know, we might nuke China, we might nuke Russia, I don't know, Iran maybe, I don't know, just, we'll keep it in our back pocket. So don't worry about it for now, but maybe something on the horizon to think about, okay? That's really the position of the U.S. military. It's absolutely psychotic. But they continue here saying that last month, Hyten warned that China could soon surpass America's military capability. This is absolutely hilarious. So he's literally saying that China could soon surpass America's military capability, saying if we don't do something to change it. I wonder what he means by do something to change it. I wonder if it means, inflating our already ridiculously inflated military budget. I wonder if this could all just be rhetoric that is, disingenuously being weaponized to inflate our military budget and may not actually be based on anything legitimate. Okay, just my take. But he continues here saying, quote, what you need to be worried about is that in the last 5 years, or maybe longer, the United States has done 9 hypersonic missile tests, and in the same time, the Chinese have done hundreds, he said. And the pace that they're moving and the trajectory that they're on will surpass Russia and the United States if we don't do something to change it. It will happen. Okay, first of all, I don't think it's going to happen. We're going to take a look at the actual military budgets of these countries that we're talking about here, and it's just completely delusional unless you are completely incompetent with the budget that you have, that China would surpass us anytime soon militarily, okay? We should be downscaling our military, okay? We should be taking some of those resources and using them to actually benefit the American people. We should be denuclearizing, not trying to ratchet up tension around a nuclear war with the second most powerful country in the world, okay? He's just an absolute monster in even saying something like this, okay? It's completely ridiculous, but it's also, just so happens to be simultaneously, he puts out this headline at the time that the Senate is debating a massive military budget. Wow, okay, so amendments abound as the Senate starts the process of passing the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. So again, I wonder if there's any correlation between ratcheting up all of the rhetoric surrounding a potential war with China and our inflated military budget, okay? I wonder if there's a connection there. I don't know. I'll let you guys, fill in the gaps there for yourself. But just to take a look in terms of how blatantly ridiculous this is at surface value, okay? All you would have to know to understand the actual military dynamic between the United States and China, look at the budgets, okay? The countries with the highest military expenditure, you see here, The United States sitting at $778 billion per year, nearly $1 trillion spent purely on our military budget. And a lot of that money, if not most of that money, is just going into the pockets of for-profit weapons defense contractors who are price gouging the military. And guess what? The Pentagon, the one that's getting nearly $1 trillion a year, just so happens to not be able to pass an audit to tell us where this money is actually going. And you look at the next budgets, okay? China, $252 billion, okay? So a tiny fraction of what the U.S. military budget is. And then all of these other countries, I mean, you could throw all those in with the Chinese military budget and it still would not be comparable to the United States military budget. So implying that the United States is under a military threat from China is laughably absurd, okay? The exact opposite is true. And if you want a perspective in terms of how the United States is actually a much bigger threat, well, look at where the fuck we parked our military bases, okay? We have over 800, by some estimates, over 800 military bases around the world, including, well, would you look at that, surrounding China, okay? I mean, could you imagine the US ever allowing China to establish military bases like, I don't know, in Cuba or in parts of Latin America? They would absolutely never in a million years allow that to happen. We would go to war with China if they had military bases this close to our borders, okay? But still, even with the inflated military budget advantage that we have over China, even with the military bases that we have stationed all over the world that are really reinforcing our empire, okay? Even with military bases directly surrounding China, still they want you to believe that China is the military threat, not the United States, okay? Not the United States that just spent the last 2 decades launching multiple illegal wars in the Middle East that have, absolutely obliterated civilian populations, destabilized entire regions, okay? They want you to believe China is the military threat, not the United States. It's so ridiculous that it's laughable that they would even make a claim like this and that any mainstream media sources would take them seriously. But of course, they're going to follow, in lockstep with whatever these military commanders are saying, because that's how our media system works here in the United States, okay? They trust their CIA buddies that give them these leaks and give them the inside scoops of whatever these generals are saying. They love cozying up to the establishment, the same establishment that lies repeatedly about especially things like imperialism and, capitalism and things like that. The same people who just lie perpetually are the ones who get promoted, and the same, corporate media pundits who repeat those lies for them are also the same ones who get promoted within the system. So it's just a complete breakdown, this entire Cold War 2.0. And I actually just saw a recent poll that came out that was asking people if they think that the US and China should work to reduce tensions right now instead of ratcheting them up. And it was literally like an 87 to 7% margin of Americans who are fed up with the Cold War 2.0, electric boogaloo rhetoric that has been happening, okay? Americans don't support a new Cold War. We don't want this. We don't want you sending more money into our already inflated military budget instead of investing it in the American people. Nobody fucking wants that. And again, I mean, he kind of says the quiet part out loud there, right? Either he thinks that you, the American people, or whoever you are, that he really thinks either that you are so stupid that you would not even look at what our military budgets actually are and understand how much larger the U.S. already is right now, or he thinks that, or he's basically admitting, on the other hand, if that first part is not true, that they have this nearly $1 trillion per year military budget and China is still beating us militarily. If China has a fraction of the size of our military budget and they're beating us militarily or catching up to us, I'm sorry, what the fuck are you doing with that money? What the fuck are you doing with the nearly $1 trillion a year that you get to invest in this type of shit? Okay, so that's how you know that it's bullshit, because all you have to do is look at the reality of the US empire. Look at the reality of the history of our military in recent modern history, but also where we're at right now, okay? We are outpacing everybody on imperialism. We are outpacing everybody on militarism, okay? And that is the reality of the situation between the United States and China, okay? The United States is the biggest military aggressor in the world, okay? China has not proven to be that, all right? So ignore the Cold War 2.0, propaganda that is going to continue to be coming out to justify these military budgets, okay? So ignore that and don't take motherfuckers like this general seriously, because these are the same motherfuckers who have been lying for decades.